Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing traits to dominate your ex's mind after a breakup. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing traits to dominate your ex's mind after a breakup. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you need to get in their mindset. In today's podcast, I'll be telling you 3 traits which can dominate your ex's thoughts even after they've dumped you. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is inspirational. Now that sounds very grand, very spectacular. Maybe you hear the word inspirational and think, well, how on earth can I be inspirational? How can I have that trait? I'm just an average person. Maybe your self-esteem makes you feel even less than average. Well, let me explain why I believe that all of us can be inspirational. Now listen, you've been dumped, you're feeling low. Your confidence, your self-esteem are not what they once were, but not only can they get back to that position that they were, but they can be higher. You can be inspirational. We all can. It doesn't mean that you have to be some type of superstar, some type of famous person. You can be inspirational in your own way. And this is a very important trait to dominate your ex's mind if you can come across in that way. Now, if you do feel very low, then actually, in some respects, it's actually easier to be inspirational from that position to if you were someone who was already very much a version 2.0 of yourself when your ex ended a relationship. That could be harder to showcase how you're going to be even better than that. But the reality is that you are someone who has sadly been dumped, you were probably not at your best, and a lot of people are dumped due to complacency and behavioural issues where the dumper just doesn't feel the dumpee is on their level in some regard. And this is why I said, if you are in that position, if your self-esteem is low, if your confidence isn't that great, if you recognise but you haven't really been living your best life, in a way it's easier to be inspirational than if you were someone who was at the top of your game at the breakup. It can be harder to show the difference from where you were to where you're going to be and where you are right now. Now, if you are a dumpee who is thinking, okay, right, I want to be this inspirational person, how can I showcase that trait? Well, in essence, it's about understanding what your expert dumper thought of you and moving it up a level. Now, if you are one of those people who, like I said, sadly is fairly common, were dumped for being complacent, then there is a chance that you could be looking at a whole manner of different things throughout your life that you can actually be more proactive about, being somebody who is living your life in a way which is going to move your life forward rather than stagnating or actually even getting worse. That is what being inspirational is about, being someone who is achieving goals, somebody who is helping others achieve their goals. Now, the best way to get this across to a dumper when you are in the no contact period, which of course, as a dumpee, if you've been listening to my podcast, I suggest, but most of the time, you never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. So you can't exactly contact your ex and say, hey, look how inspirational I am now. You can't do that. You need to be showcasing this via social media, showcasing this through friends of friends, letting people know what you're doing, what you're achieving. People who know your ex as well, they will naturally pass that information on. You don't need to be telling them to do it or asking them to do it. They will just do it. So you need to be behaving in a way which anybody who sees it, feels it, hears it, they are going to be wanting to pass on this information in a way which is promoting you in the best light. Now, I'm not saying you should be doing this just to get your ex back. You need to be becoming an inspirational person for the right reason, and that is because you want to improve your life and the life of other people. This can't just be about trying to get an ex back. It won't be authentic. It won't be genuine. The byproduct of being inspirational can help you get your ex back. It can dominate their thoughts. If they hear about things that you're doing, which are good and positive, and things which they don't really expect, then this can absolutely help your cause. Now, Now, what do I mean by being inspirational? Well, like I said earlier, it could be a wide spectrum of possibilities of how you can be achieving things, moving forward in the right way. But when I'm talking about helping others, sometimes that could be connected to charity. Maybe you want to be doing some type of charity work, maybe some type of voluntary work, helping your community, helping other people be better than they were once before, helping other people who are going through a difficult time. That could be deemed as inspirational and something which will really shine a good light on yourself as well. Remember what I said though, this can't be about I want to get my ex back, so I'm going to do voluntary work. That is not a good thing to do. It needs to be genuine, it needs to be authentic. And if and when your ex finds out about this, yes, it's going to shine a positive light on you, but you're not just doing it for that reason. So that's really important for me to say. That is a trait which would dominate your ex's mind after they've dumped you if they were to find out about it, but you're not just doing it to get them back. You've got to be doing it for you and more importantly for others. You're improving your life, you're becoming a better person, you're more forward thinking, you're more proactive, you're more helpful, and you're trying to lift other people up as well. That is what makes somebody inspirational. And that is a trait which if your ex finds out about, they'll be thinking about you in a very positive way. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And point number 2 is patience. So if you're somebody who is patient, you're going to stand a much better chance of one day getting your ex back. Not only that, but you will have a much better chance of achieving things throughout your life. And this is the core of today's podcast. It's not just about trying to get someone back, but what it does show is if you have these traits, if you showcase these traits, then you're going to be in a much better position as a byproduct of those behaviours to try and reconnect with your ex. So how can you show your ex the dump that you're patient? Well, my version of a no contact rule. If you implement my version of no contact rule, that will present ultimate patience. This isn't about social media. This isn't about friends of friends. This is about what you're doing within your own life, which isn't chasing your ex. This is almost a case of your inaction being the action. Earlier on today, I was speaking about being someone who is being forward thinking, somebody who is on the front foot, somebody who is proactive. But being proactive does not mean chase your ex. Being proactive does not mean harassing your ex. It doesn't mean trying to create new and inventive ways to chase your ex and to appear when they least expect you. No, that's creepy. That's not going to help you. That is not what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about being someone who is forward thinking and moving their life forward, I'm talking about their own goals and aspirations, their own life, as I said, being inspirational in point number 1. Point number 2 is the patience of you never contacting your ex again unless they contact you first. By and large, that is going to be your best position. Now, there are caveats to the rule, one of which might be that you need to contact your ex due to the fact that you have children together, or maybe that you work together. In those instances, you have to implement something that I refer to as limited contact. You can't do a full no contact when you have children together or if you work together. But limited contact would be that you only contact your ex for a necessary reason regarding the situation which you have to, and you stay on point. If you reach out to your ex due to having children together, it is about your children and nothing more. Now, if they reach out to you for something else, for a non-necessary reason, for something which is unnecessary, then that is when you can take the conversation further in that direction. But by and large, if you have to reach out to them, it stays on point about the children. If you work together, then any communication stays on point about your job. That is limited contact. If your ex takes it in an unnecessary direction, yes, you can proceed from that way. But as you can see, those caveats to the rule, and there are some others, by the way, but that was just what I wanted to mention today. By and large, generally speaking, you should be never contacting your ex again unless they contact you first. And this is the patience. This is showing you as somebody who is stable-minded. That is very attractive. When we're talking about thoughts which could dominate your ex's mind, it could go one way or the other. They're either going to be thinking that you're someone who is almost stalking them, chasing them, texting, calling, knocking on their door. All of those things are not going to help you, and they will dominate your ex's thoughts. But if you're not doing that, if you've gone the other way, you're going to be surprising them, probably shocking them of how stable-minded you have been, and this is ultimate patience. If you do work together, if you do have children together, and you maintain limited contact in the best possible way, then patience is being proven again. Your ex won't believe it. They'll think, well, what? I'm seeing my ex at work. My dumpee is messaging me about our kids, and they're just keeping it on the kids. They're just talking about work, nothing else. I can't believe it. And if you don't have that, if you're not part of the other caveats and you really aren't ever contacting your ex again unless they contact you first, that's showcasing ultimate patience. That trait is going to dominate your ex's mind and really paint you in the best possible way. And if you want your ex back, you've got to do that. You can't be someone that your ex thinks, hey, I've actually made the right decision here. I've made a good choice ending this relationship. They're annoying. They're frustrating. I'm not attracted. Now, of course, you can't do that. You need them to be regretting the decision. And they will only regret it if the thoughts that are in their mindset are positive, surprising. The level of mystery that you present to your ex can be something which really creates positivity and attraction in their mind. Be mysterious by not being part of their orbit. Remember, if your ex reaches out to you, then we can take things from there. But if they don't, you shouldn't be trying to force the issue. If you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about traits to dominate your ex's mind after a breakup. And point number 3 is composed. Now, being composed is so important, and your ex, the dumper, will be shocked if they come across you in a composed state. Not because they necessarily want to see you in a bad state, but they will be at least subconsciously expecting you to be not yourself with them not around. So let me explain what I mean by this. This composure can be shown in a few ways. Firstly, on social media. If you're someone who posts a lot online and you start posting sad song lyrics and all of those other cliche things, your ex, the dumper, will see that you are thinking about them, you're not steady, you're not stable-minded, you're not having the composure. That is not necessarily what they want. They don't necessarily want you to be feeling upset, but it is somewhat what they are expecting. They're thinking you really want them, you really miss them, and you're probably not going to be that great if they are not around you. So if you are composed and you're promoting yourself in a positive light on social media, talking about all the great things you're doing, not all of the sad things which you might be feeling, but you're not talking about at least, then that level of composure is going to surprise your ex and flood their mindset with positivity regarding you, growing that attraction. But social media is not the only way to show that you're composed. Friends are friends. Remember them, the people who you know and they know, and if you speak to, they will just pass on that information without you even having to tell them to. Well, if you come across in a very negative, upset, unstable way, they will pass that information on to your dumper. If you don't, then they won't be doing that. They'll be passing on that you look fine, you seem fine, you're doing fine, and you're going to be someone who is living your life to the full. Why isn't the dumper achieving as much as you? That might be what the mutual friend is actually saying. And the dumper will be confused by how composed you are. But again, that level of attraction will start to build. Now, it's important for me to say here, even though that I'm suggesting that you don't tell your friends of friends about how upset you might feel, that doesn't mean that you should be avoiding talking with anybody. I really fully believe and promote and talk therapy. That's my audio coaching service. You need to speak with someone, whether it's myself, whether it's a local doctor, whether it is a friend or family member that doesn't know your ex. You need to talk. You need to make sure you don't bottle up your emotions. It's not safe or healthy to be bottling things up. All I'm suggesting is don't speak to someone who has direct contact with your ex. I just don't believe that would be the best move. Speak to anybody else, but not someone who might pass it on to your dumper. Now, the third possibility of how your ex-dumper might see that you are composed is if you were to bump into one another. If you see one another out of the blue, unexpected, and you come across in a very composed way, then your expert dumper is going to be surprised. They're going to be somewhat shocked, but they're also going to start feeling more attraction towards you. Their mindset will be dominated by the thoughts of how composed and attractive you seemed. This is something which can really pull your expert dumper closer towards you beyond that meeting that you may have accidentally had. You bumped into each other. Maybe right there and then, nothing particular happened. You have a few words and then you go your own separate ways. However, a few weeks down the line, you might get that text from your dumper that you've always been craving because that moment really told them that you had grown, you had evolved, you had improved, and you were so composed. It was very, very attractive. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.